I read many things about Vasana and Samskara, but it's not so clear in my mind. So I would like to hear your definition about the difference between the Vasanas and the Samskaras.
Hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
So the samskaras, are a part of the five skandhas, which, they're so they're I see it as, the five skandhas are sort of like a functional model of how the mind works. So you can directly experience each part of that. So and it's all entangled. It's all connected together. So there's this sense, that the I thought is at the root of all of it. So the I thought has this sense that there's a body here, that I'm the body. There's sensations arising on it. There's memories, perceptions operating through that. And then the samskaras then are the preferences of that I thought towards all of that phenomena. So if I have a preference to, so I have a sense that something pleasant or unpleasant is arising on the body, something is good or bad. All of these dualities are arising within this self structure, and the preferences, the sense that I want or I don't want, those are the samskaras. And then there's the fifth skandha, which is just that part of the mind that sees all of that. So you have all this stuff going on. All the whole entire phenomenal world is those five skandhas, all phenomena, all of Maya. The entire illusion is made up of these five parts. And I would say the stickiest part, or the part that ties the I thought, most deeply is, you know, is the samskara. It's the sense that I want, so I want comfort in the body, or I want to know whatever I want. That's the samskara is this part that ties the sense of I to something in the phenomenal world. So then the vasanas are you know, they're just the life situations that trigger the samskara. So whatever happens, so if you're sitting on a cushion, you might have certain things coming up, but there might be certain life conditions, that trigger samskaras that they may never come up on a cushion. You could sit on a cushion or in a dyad for a lifetime, and those things would never come up. Maybe it's something around, maybe taxes, or it triggers there's a certain condition, or around money, or certain triggers could happen around, say, technology or something like that. It's like my computer isn't working, or and that triggers a samskara. It's a preference. It's like I prefer that that's not happening. But it's a certain, or certain people even can trigger, a vasana can be, Thanksgiving with your family. That's a perfect example where
Mm.
a certain pattern will come to the surface. And that situation is more likely to trigger the samskara. Yeah. So the samskara, I see it as it's like the wiring. It's like, sometimes, like in the Sanskrit, or in some of the ancient teachings, they say, some samskaras are like, a line drawn in the sand. So it's like carving a little pathway in the sand. And maybe, if water is running along,
Mm.
the
Mm.
sand, it's a tendency for energy to follow that path. But other samskaras it's like they're carved in stone. like they're really deep. They
Yeah.
have solidity to them, so those samskaras are you can't just wipe them out easily. It takes you know, deep work to work with those samskaras and
Yeah.
purify them.
Can we say that the samskaras came from are like imprint that came
Mhm.
from our when we were very very young, or even in the past life?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, like I don't really know, but I think everything is like that. Everything is I have like an image in my mind of like a tree, it's like a tree of energy, or branching patterns because our minds are like that. The human mind is just made of all these neurons and the nadis through the mind body. It's like a tree. And even in deep space research, they've found that the structure of space itself is like that. It's like a giant mind. The architecture of dark matter in space actually looks like a mind with neurons and neural pathways. So I think from the microcosm to the macrocosm, there's this sort of wired mind mechanism that is all of it. It's just all it is the tendency for energy to repeat. It's just, that somehow this whole mind is, these branching patterns get created, and then there's this tendency to repeat. And then at a certain point, this sense of I becomes attached to that, you know.
Mhm, mhm,
Yeah.
mhm,
Hmm.
mhm.
Yeah.
I have to be honest, it's not clear at all for me.
It's not like, well, and we don't have to understand it.
Yeah.
Like to me with the all of these five skandhas,
Mhm,
it's like we want to see the operation of them, like just make it conscious. We don't really have to understand anything about, why they're there, how they really work. It doesn't really matter. I have no idea really, but
mhm,
I see that there's this operation happening. So if we make it conscious, it's only if they're operating in the shadows and unconsciously that this sense of I is entangled with it. So as long as we just see it, that the one who sees, this awareness is what we're intending to directly experience, and when we realize ourselves to be that, then it's like in the Heart Sutra, that realizing the five skandhas to be empty of self.
mhm,
But we can't really realize them to be empty of self until we see them, we see what's in play. Otherwise, it's like this is the shadow work. There are these shadows, these vasanas that are hiding out in the shadows, and we only see them in certain conditions and or certain things in life, and they can be you know sometimes very obvious to people around us, but I had a big one around relationships. There was like this shadow following me around, a pattern of recreating the same relationships over and over. Some part of the self structure was looking for something in the external, and but I didn't see it, even though I was having samadhi experiences on the cushion, all kinds of stuff happening, in the spiritual realm, but yet, in the shadows, there's still this unconscious part that was playing out. And yes.
You touched the point that I like when you're talking about the unconscious. What I think, maybe I'm wrong, that there could be some shadows, you can call it shadows, or very deep, deep um, things inside, like a big despair, a long sadness with no reason at all.
Hmm. Hmm.
Is it possible for me? It's a part of the unconscious from a sanskara that's
Yeah.
very, very far away in the past, that it's
Yeah.
still there and I have to work with it again and
Yeah.
again. Mm,
Absolutely. Yeah.
mm,
Yeah. And those are, it's different for everyone. Some people, there can be like a fundamental kind of knot that ties the I thought. And yeah, for some people, it could be grief or sadness, just this deep pattern that, you know, whatever happened, whether it's a past life or, in this life, we don't really need to know because what matters is that we release that knot. And, so what story we create around it doesn't really matter more. What matters is the actual letting go, the freeing of the energy of that.
mm, mm,
So some people, they will have a sense of where it came from and they'll have a story about it and they'll realize, I had trauma in the womb or whatever it was,
mm,
or
mm,
from another past life, they might have a an experience of that. But others, some of these things can be pre-verbal as well. They can be just before any kind of knowing is possible. So sometimes it's just a release of energy. So
mm,
the story I think is it can be nice to have a story about it, but ultimately it's
mm,
that, releasing the whatever it is, the grief. It can be anger for some people. Sometimes there can be like really, really deep anger that people don't know they have, or it can be a sense of meaninglessness to life. Just it can manifest in different ways for different people, or there can be multiple things. There are multiple patterns because sometimes, like in early life, there could be different experiences that if the charge of that experience was really strong, it's almost like it splits off a little part of us. Like we couldn't have a complete experience in that moment. So it's like it starts to repeat in the unconscious. And there can be many of those charges sometimes. There can be multiple things that are samskaras or little dissociated parts of us that are become like these little programs running in the shadows.
mm, mm, mm,
Yeah.
mm,
So we want to collect them, see them all, invite them home,
yeah, yeah. Mhm.
and yeah, just allow them. And
Yeah,
yeah.
allow them and let it go. Yeah. Let it
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
sometimes when those parts come, sometimes we will kind of push them away because they don't feel good, right? We want to get rid of them.
Mm,
But the practice is to invite them in, to feel all those things, when we were really young, we didn't have a capacity to fully feel it. It was too much. The charge of it was too much. But now we can invite it in consciously, feel it, and then that's how we integrate it is to just let it be. So all these seemingly separate parts, they just want to be, you know, seen, loved, and
mm, mm,
integrated. And
yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
Hmm.
It's more clear now.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.